The Diddy trial is actually happening. I know a lot of us thought because of who he was, that this was never going to actually come to fruition. There were lots of arguments online that, oh, this was going to die down, it wouldn't happen, there would be some kind of way that this whole thing would get brushed under the rug and he would go on with life. Instead, this thing is actually happening, and it's surprised a lot of people. Now, I'm sure there are people who really, really wish they could be in the courtroom, and instead, it's very much so closed. The only people we're getting feedback from are, of course, the journalists who are trying to give us play by play as they're having recesses and things like that, or the end of the day. What is confusing to a lot of us, especially women, is that for some strange reason, all of Diddy's kids are in the courtroom. And yes, we expected that because they're his kids and they want to show support and all of that. However, I don't understand why anyone thought it was a very good idea to have his daughters in the room while they give explicit details of his sexual predic I don't even know if I want to call it that. What he has done in his past. I know I personally would not want to know the innermost sexual things any of my parents have done, especially in detail, the way this is playing out. And yet, his daughters have been present in court so far every day, with the exception, I think, of one. And there are reports that they're occasionally getting up and walking out, but I don't understand why they're there in the first place. Whose idea was this? Was it his? Was it the children? And yes, we're not confused. We know they're all grown. However, 18 is not a time to say, oh, they're grown, put them in here to hear this. Because I'm in my 50s and I don't want to hear this about my parents, especially the type of things that Diddy allegedly was involved in. I guess we still have to say allegedly, even though he's not denying more of the sexual escapades. It's just the abuse, I guess, that he's denying at this point. However, what I do find interesting is how many men, yet again, that are defending this whole thing. And instead of saying, oh, he groomed this young lady or anything like that, the first thing that comes to mind is to for men seems to be, why did she just leave? Meaning Cassie. And what I'm confused about is we have known for decades how often women get in abusive situations where they're stuck. They're financially dependent upon these men, or they're afraid of these men, or they have nowhere to go. They feel like they don't have the resources to leave, and they stay. Or they get what we consider more of the Stockholm syndrome, where they convince themselves that the reason this person is treating them this way is because they love them this much. They're this passionate about them because they love them this much, and they keep trying to be the better person for this person because they love them and don't want to lose them. Instead of accepting this person needs help and you can't give it to them. Now, in Cassie's case, I'm very, very confused quite often as I'm getting this feedback as to where her family was. And I know in one of the takes they said she mentioned she never told her mother the deepest details of this because she was afraid for her mother's safety, which I can understand, especially considering some of the allegations of things Diddy has done to people if she was dating them or if it looked like she may have been talking to them too long. People keep saying, oh, she should have left, she should have left. This girl dated someone who he allegedly found out about and blew up their car. Are we missing that part? She left multiple times, and he allegedly tracked her down and beat the hell out of her for leaving him. So, why are we steadily saying he should have just left? Because we're not talking about your average situation where someone meets a regular person on their same level, and perhaps that person turns out to not be who they thought they were and they leave. We're talking a 19-year-old child versus a grown man in the celebrity world, very, very popular when he meets her, very, very accomplished when he meets her, takes her in as a person on his label to guide her, to mentor her, perhaps. He bides his time before he makes his first move. Somewhere along there, she ends up in a relationship with him. And according to her, for the first year or so, it seems to be a normal relationship, which is just like anyone else who wants to guide someone in until they completely are in love with them or trust them or what have you before they show the other side. Diddy had this young, naive girl who was inexperienced, and he taught her the ways in which he liked a relationship to go. By the time she starts realizing this is not what she wants, she's head over heels in love with him. And she's also career dependent on him because he has her next 10 albums in his control. He has her finances in his control. And he has a barrage of employees that help him keep control of her, making sure she's where she's supposed to be, that she's responding to him when she needs to. If she's not answering him, he's sending people to find her if he doesn't come to find her. He has a key to her place, so he lets himself in when he chooses to. There are multiple allegations of him beating her in front of witnesses. And what I'm confused about is why none of these witnesses ever intervened if they were employees of his. Is it because of the money? Is it because they were afraid of him themselves? Is it because they were afraid that they would lose their jobs or that he would turn on them? Who knows? But I do want to see if any of them are put on the stand and if any of them will tell the truth or will they continue to lie to cover for him? We shall see. But I do know that every time I open any app, everything is talking about Cassie and Diddy to the point that you almost don't want to open your app because you feel so sorry for this young girl who is a grown woman now, but who suffered for so long only to see all these comments that some people feel for her and some are blaming her. And I'm very confused about that because, on the one hand, we're blaming her, and on the other hand, you're saying, oh, well, his young daughter shouldn't be in the wrong. Well, what's the difference? His daughters are what, 18? And what was Cassie, 18, 19 when this started? So, how are these two things different? If you think his daughters are too young to be in the courtroom, then why was Cassie not too young to end up in a relationship with him as a grown man? Think about that. One thing I've noticed is that we have a habit online of creating narratives. And if somebody creates a narrative, everyone one runs around with it without checking any sources to see if it's fact. One example of that has been multiple allegations and stories that have come up saying Alex Vine didn't know. Alex is Cassie's husband. He didn't know the details, and he stormed out of the courtroom as he heard some of them. And I noticed that one outlet after the other posted the same story, but none of them were the reputable journalists sitting in the room. So somebody started this. Everybody picked it up and ran with it, and nobody verified it. Is this what we do now? I noticed the same thing happen with little Preston Ardone, who unfortunately passed away recently. As we all know, he was our favorite little nephew, okay baby, online. Somebody decided to say, oh, it was his parents' fault because of this or because of that. And whichever story they gave, it blew up. And one person after the other started carrying that narrative as if it were gospel. Nobody was verifying anything because they didn't even know how to verify it. They just kept going with it. And it became a thing to the point that Caitlin Ardone, who be grieving and trying to deal with something that no mother should be trying to deal with, came to the internet yesterday and tried to defend herself and her husband on what had happened. And I don't think that she owes that to any of us because right now she has lost part of herself in that child. And instead of us letting them deal and grapple and try to figure out how they set one foot in front of the other, we're what? Accusing and saying, oh, her husband had a rage moment and he ran into the tree. What are we basing that on? Or he wasn't properly restrained in the back, and that's why this happened. It's their fault. And we know this because several witnesses have said this child was in his car seat correctly and that they removed the car seat when they were waiting on the emergency responders. So, could we please let these people grieve in peace and stop trying to formulate our own narratives because we have decided that they let us into their lives to see this little boy. They now owe us something. They owe us an explanation. They do not. Changing subjects real quick. Has anybody noticed that there are times when certain shows you watch, you get to the point that you just don't enjoy them the same. I have certain shows that record automatically that have been my guilty obsessions forever, especially my reality housewives. And for some reason lately, I have found that some of them, the episodes are piling up because every time I open my TV library, I skip over some of them because I'm just not in the mood for that kind of negativity today. I don't feel like being drained like that today, which used to be the opposite. I used to enjoy these shows. They gave me amusement and entertainment and reminded me just how bad some people's lives could be with their foolishness and their drama and their over the top stuff. But lately, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's just a TV slump, but Basketball Wives, for one, is back. The episodes are recording. I haven't watched not one since the season started. I don't know if this is just a phase or when I will be ready, but my reality shows are piling up. Don't know. But I tell y'all what, if you want something amusing right now, go to TikTok and Google Usher. Usher's security guard. Now, from what I understand, this particular security guard has been with Usher a very, very long time. But he is trending right now because everyone is finally finding great amusement in zeroing in on this man's face. Because he definitely has one of those faces where if my mouth doesn't say it, my face will. That man's face sometimes, as he's watching the way these women react to Usher or interact with Usher, especially with that lovely hairy thing that he feeds to the women, that man's face is utter disgust sometimes. When it's not that, it's like he's definitely judging the women, Usher, everyone. His face is hilarious. And some people have done little compilations of just his face at different points in the concert, or his face at different points when he and Usher are walking to the car or into entrances of hotels. That man is over it. At this point, people are pushing for Usher to give that poor man a raise because we can't decide if he's over Usher young girls, or if he is actually thinking his daughters would never. Who knows? But you want a quick laugh, go look it up. I've noticed that there's a nice little thing going around again about things you should keep quiet about that I find interesting. And it gives you these 5 things, like not talking to people about what your big plans are, what your love life is having, what your income is, what your family issues are, or what your next move is. And some of those things I understand perfectly because especially your love life, your family life, there are some things in your family life that I really wish we had not always been raised to keep quiet, because that's why so many of our children from my generation didn't talk about the things that were happening to them because you kept family things in the family. However, when it comes to love life stuff, I do see why some people say they want to keep that quiet. And it's because once you tell everyone that this person did you this wrong or that wrong, and I'm not talking about abuse, I'm talking about the little trivial things that happen in relationships and marriages. Once you tell us that, when makeup day comes and you two are all fine again, we're still looking at them sideways. I'll give you an example. I have a family member that has given me a lot of feedback every time he's upset with his wife. And we give him advice and we talk him through. Problem is, of course, that little by little, our perception of his wife has become extremely negative based on the things that he has told her that she has done. On the other hand, they are still together, which means now I'm looking at her sideways because I know all of this dirt on her. So if you're going to stay with that person, maybe sometimes you need an impartial third party, not someone who still has to be around this person and be family with this person because now, not so much. I don't want to. So I get that. But what I'm finding interesting is how many people are saying, keep your next move to yourself. We have gone through an era of being influencers, and everybody's trying to guide you and teach you and show you things. And now all of a sudden, we're on this kick about, no, 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 my next move needs to be mine. Does that mean we're not trying to be influencers anymore? Because what I'm picking up here is that a lot of people feel like telling people your next move means they try their best to talk you out of it because they're not doing the things they need to do in their life. So because they're not going after their goals, they try to convince you why yours are unattainable, unrealistic, how they try to do things to derail you. If they know you're trying to lose weight, they may do things to try to guide you in the wrong direction because they're not making those changes. If you're going after a goal of, say, changing careers, they may try to dissuade you because they're still in the dead end job they hate. In those instances, what are your thoughts? Do you, yes, I want to share my next move because I want the accountability. I want to show other people it can be done. I want to keep a record of my progress as it happens. Or do you hold it to yourself to make sure negative influences don't impact you? I'd love to know. What are your thoughts? Speaking of getting healthy and getting yourself together and all that jazz, I went on a retreat recently. And I'm not going to lie, quite a few of the photos were eye opening. Let's just say it that way. Did I know that I needed to do work? Of course I did. But looking at those photos made it even worse because we can be our own harshest critic. But when you see those photos where you feel not one photo is suitable to be posted that you're in, you know it's past time to get the work done that you need to do. So while I'm exploring all these different options, I keep coming back to the fact that I have said for quite some time I was going to start off by doing 75 soft. I've said that time and time again. I've never done it. I keep saying I'm going to do it, and then I don't. So, if you're not familiar with 75 soft, it's think of it as a easier route than 75 hard because it's a little difficult to jump into 75 hard if you're not someone who exercises or moves, or maybe you have some issues like knee pain or back pain or something. If that's the case, you may want to start with 75 soft, get through that program, and then do 75 hard. So let me run through you the difference between 75 hard and 75 soft. With 75 soft, you choose how you want to eat. You don't necessarily have to be on a diet. You can just choose to do, I'm going to eat well, or I'm going to eat in moderation. I'm going to just watch the kind of things I'm eating and keep up with it. Versus 75 hard, which says you have to follow a diet and you get no cheat meals whatsoever. 75 soft, you can drink on social occasions and that's it. On hard, there is absolutely no alcohol through the entire program. Okay? On 75 hard, you drink a gallon of water per day, which is a lot if you are someone who does not drink water to jump from no water to a gallon a day. Whereas on soft, you agree to drink about 3 liters of water per day, which is not going to do that much since most of us walk around with a Stanley in our hand. Just keep refilling it. You'll hit that 3 liters in no time. Now, the biggest difference I have found in hard versus soft is 75 hard requires two 45-minute workouts, one of which must be outside. And we're talking every day. Now, I don't know about you, but we live in Texas. Do you know how hot it is outside? So you're talking two 45-minute workouts. One is in your house, one is outside, or one is in the gym, one is outside. They don't care. Versus 75 soft, which says you're going to do one 45-minute workout per day, and you're going to have one active recovery day per week. That does not mean on that one day you don't do anything. It just means on that one active recovery day, you do something that is seriously low intensity. It could be yoga, that could be leisurely cycling on a bike, that kind of thing. It could be stretching, but that's definitely more attainable for someone who is going from no workouts to working out. You don't want to set yourself up for failure if if you bite off something you know you're not going to stick to long term. If you're not working out at all, it's very difficult to say, I'm now going to do two 45-minute workouts every single day, one of them outside, when I can just as easily say, I'm going to do one 45-minute workout per day and have one day per week of active recovery. Both of them say you have to read 10 pages of a book every day. 75 hard requires that book be nonfiction. So self-help, business, memoir, that kind of thing. Versus 75 soft that says you can just read 10 pages of a book. Doesn't well, for me, since I read every freaking day anyways, that's an easy goal to hit. But it helps you if you're someone who is struggling to get back into reading. Now, 75 hard requires you take a picture every single day, a progress photo, and preferably post it so that people can hold you accountable. Versus 75 soft, which says you take a picture at the beginning and a picture at the end of the whole program. You share it, you don't share it, that's entirely up to you. The biggest difference between the two really is that with 75 hard, if you miss one day, you have to start all over again with the count for 75. Versus 75 soft, which says if you miss a day, you just keep counting, but you start back up the next day. There are a million different formats if you look on Amazon or Etsy or what have you for workbooks to help you keep up with all of the things on 75 soft. There are also apps that let you for 75 soft or 75 hard keep up with what you're hitting each day. It's entirely up to you. Or you can easily look at all the things you have to hit and create something of your own to help you keep up with whether or not you're hitting all the goals. But either way, at least you're making a effort to do the things that you said you were going to do when you said you were going to get your health in order. Let's figure out something, if it's not this, something that helps you go after those goals you said you were going to do when you said one of your goals for the year was getting yourself together, getting your confidence back, getting your body moving again. What do you say? Anyway, as usual, if you want to keep up with me, follow me on any of my social platforms. They're all listed on my podcast info and see what other nonsense I'm getting into all week. Otherwise, I will see you all next week. Later.